Okay. All right, everybody. Here we go.
Podcast without a producer.
Oh, man, it's hard.
Who's going to guide the conversation?
I don't know.
What will we talk about?
I'm self-conscious about my neck beard that I didn't shave.
That'll be the first video.
That's where we could
Should
start.
Charlie shave his neck beard? Yes
Does
or no?
Charlie have a neck beard?
Is Charlie a closet neck beard?
Yeah, man. I've always dreamed that everything below this line would just be like teleported up to here.
Oh, dude, I think your better bet is just wait for the neck beard to become in style.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's never happened, so it's bound to happen.
It's got to happen. That's what they say. Fashion is just constantly innovating. It never repeats itself.
Yes, it's always new.
Yeah.
So like,
So you'd be fine.
yeah, like asymmetrical neck beards are going to be very hot coming up.
I'm ready for the beard trend to
Just
be
disappear.
dead. Yeah, as a man who can't grow a beard,
I'm pretty tired about it.
it's been a long time, right? Clean shaven's got to be
Coming super back.
making a hot
Yes.
comeback.
I agree. Also, like less lifting. You know.
Well, we're mixed. We're on opposite sides there.
Yeah. Well, I'm on team. Stop going to the gym, everybody. It's the new thing. Skinny was really cool for a long time in high school.
Skinny was cool.
So it's bound to come back. I mean, we've hit this fitness trend so hard.
Yeah.
Like did that ever exist where women were lifting weights to the degree that they are today?
I don't know.
I feel like that was a fairly innovative thing that occurred with Instagram.
Yoked women.
I just remember the thing that women used to say was, I don't want to have muscle. You know what I mean? Like, I want to work out, but I don't want to like get bulky and build
Yeah,
muscle.
I want to lift, but I want to look toned. I don't want to look jacked.
Exactly. And now it's like,
Jacked is in.
yes. So
now you think jacked will go out for guys. You think where we're heading is a world of jacked
Just
women,
juiced
and
to the
skinny
gills.
men,
I like
androgynous
that.
men,
Yes.
and yoked
This
women.
is going to play to my strengths as someone who doesn't like to eat a lot of food and who can't put muscle on easily.
Yes, but as someone who hates yoked women, you're going to be the most attractive man in the world to a bunch of women you're not attracted to.
It's going to be so cool.
It'll be great. The validation will be so good.
Amazing. Through the roof. Speaking of validation, New York Times.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I was so excited. So I'm going to be honest. I completely forgot that I answered some of those questions.
Yeah.
I thought they were quotes from the book. And then I felt like 10 times more excited when you reminded me that I contributed to that. I was like, oh, nice. And then I sent it to my parents.
I did a thing.
I did some of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, well, we got those questions and they were like
Forever ago.
forever ago, but also they were like, is confidence important? And I was like, I don't want to answer
Yeah.
these questions.
Did you see the article? Long article.
Long.
Also, you are always called Mr. Hooper, which just
Which is so weird.
tickled me so
My
much.
last name is so bad, man.
I loved it though. You weren't Charlie. You weren't even
Yeah.
Charles. It was just Mr. Hooper. It says.
That's why I started thinking about this. I was like, dude, if I have a DJ name, I need to change my last name. Like I was.
Well, I wouldn't sweat that. You gotta learn how to DJ.
Well,
first.
dude, this is nonsense. I was imagining the billboard, right? And I was like, like DJ Snake, like Calvin Harris, and then Charlie Houpert. Halpert, it doesn't work. And that article, that's where it came from. I was looking at that. I was like, this looks so bad.
Go the Stephen Colbert route. Become Charlie Hooper.
Hooper.
Mr. Hooper.
I was thinking of hoops.
You're French, right?
Hoops, hope, something with an H and a P and an O in there somewhere.
Dr. Hope, the DJ.
Anyway, I'll get those DJ skills under.
Dude, I actually
Once we get the name nailed.
I will say, so normally I have very little ego tied to our business. Don't mind doing the videos, not doing the videos, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. When this New York Times article came out, I wasn't thinking this. And then I went back. He emailed me. And so I saw our email chain where he asked, hey, do you or Charlie want to do this? And so I decided what made sense is like we'd both answer the questions, but it'd be from you because you're the face of the channel. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I was like, oh, damn. I could have had my name in that article, which would matter. Not at all.
Well, my day's been completely different today.
But my ego is like, dude, you should have done that. Like you could have said that you were interviewed by the New York Times.
Yeah.
And for some reason that mattered to my significance.
So I'm interested in this. Why do you think that hits you, but being on the YouTube channel, the face of, doesn't affect you as much? Because I would argue that if all you cared about was reach and eyeballs, period, you'd care more about the YouTube
Oh, no
channel.
doubt. No doubt.
Than an article that not a lot of people are going to read, quite frankly.
I think watching you have zero benefits to your life from the YouTube channel is very
Thanks.
helpful. Like, I think if you were constantly being...
Wait. When we go to bars, people come up and just...
That's true. One guy every time will go, hey, I like your channel.
More than one, man. We go to bars. It's a pain, is the truth. It makes me like less desirous of going out at night because there's going to be a group of wannabe pickup artists that are going to come up to me and be like, yo, dude, we going to do this? Like,
show us.
We going to
dance
Sarge?
Dance for us, monkey.
He's doing it. And so, yeah.
So I think the YouTube channel, one, I got on it briefly, however briefly. So there's a couple of my face on there. And two, just watching you literally accrue no benefits in your life from it.
That stings. It stings to hear the truth.
So I'm like, oh, cool. Like, being the guy behind the scenes is exactly the same as being the guy in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And then for this article, for whatever reason, just because it is the New York Times, and I don't know if you remember this, but I got written up in Business Insider once, like 2 years ago. I've never gotten more emails from friends and family than from that article.
Interesting.
Our videos will hit 5 million people. No one cares. Business Insider, I have no idea how many people read that article, but I had old bosses, friends from college, a girl I used to date. They were all just like, hey, I saw this. It's so awesome. Congrats.
I need to be in Business Insider. This is
what
I'm taking.
Yeah. It's just a fluff piece. It was literally, I didn't even do an interview. They took a podcast of mine, took quotes from the podcast, and wrote an article around the podcast. And then that was the most love I ever received from other people.
It is an interesting thing where I've noticed this. I go back, people don't understand in my family what it is I do. They kind of are impressed by the subscriber count, but to them it's not real. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, the numbers are so big too.
And it also, it's like if I had 200,000 or 2 million, I don't think they can sense a difference, even though it's an order of magnitude. But on the rare occasions where like an article like this, a traditional media will excite me, and it'll make zero business impact, and the reach of it will be a fraction of the worst video that I put out. And I appreciate being written up. Let me make that clear. Like, Eric Ravenscroft, you're the man.
Yeah,
been with us since Life Hacker.
Agreed.
But it's like the family just, oh my God, you were in. I saw your name in Business Insider.
Yeah, they've heard of the New York Times.
Yeah,
YouTube didn't matter when they were growing up or adults or anything.
Yeah. I also realized this. So I was thinking about somebody I saw on one of their social media profiles mentioned that they had like 200,000 subscribers. And that was a huge deal to them. And I was like, when somebody has 20,000, that's a big deal to them. And 200, and like I'm at around 2 million. And what I didn't realize is the orders and orders and orders of magnitude difference between someone who is big on social media and someone who's like big in their group of friends on social media. And I think they can easily get lumped together. But I was thinking about PewDiePie, and it's like, dude, he is at least 50 times bigger than us. Mm-hmm. So take every message, every comment, everything, and multiply at least, because it's not fair to just do this. Because if you go by views, it's more like 500. That's how big he is. Mm-hmm. And to say that we're both YouTubers is silly. And also, you take us and go to the person who has, no knock on it, 100,000. And that's like their life, and this is their thing. And people write, like, they're getting 1/20th. And I don't know, the numbers and the internet scales in such an insane way that I don't think people understand what it is to be towards the top of these influencer chains, which I would not put us at all. No. I was just thinking, I was like, my God, the amount of hate, love, appreciation, lives saved, people who say they didn't kill themselves because they watched PewDiePie's videos is just got to be off the scales. Yeah. Not that I even am desirous of getting there, but just made me realize we're not even close.
Yeah.
We're not swimming in the same ocean.
Well, it's also a pyramid, right? Like the amount of YouTubers that have 10,000 subscribers compared to the amount with whatever it is, 2 or 3 million.
Yeah.
Compared to the amount with 50 plus million.
Yeah.
You go, well, there's not that many people that are, there's one PewDiePie. Mm-hmm. There's like 10 people under him. And then you hit the 10 million number, and all of a sudden I think there's a big drop off. But it's like a pyramid that when you get to the very top parts, there's no one else that's close.
I know why I was thinking this. Because one of the people that had one of the smaller followings had mentioned that their goal was to have $1 billion company. And that is, billion is the new million in the sense that it's a BS number that people who don't understand what $1 billion is or have no possible way of conceiving of it say that they're going to get there. And they think, and I was like, how does this person or anyone think this? And I get it. It's like, this is the biggest fish in their pond. And they're like, my whole life, I was the smart kid at school. And then I got all these followers and subscribers. Like, I'm going to be at the top of the pond or the top of the stack. And it's like, no, man, you don't realize how big a billion and how rare that is and how utterly common our size following is and our reach is compared to the billion mark. Not only that, when I see this billion thing, you know, like, it's just such an ego trip.
It's such a lazy. It's
lazy.
There's no
it's
thought.
Lazy.
Like, I really think this company, if I worked really hard, could be $350, maybe $450 million business. You're like, oh, you're thoughtful. You've thought about this. That
size of the reachable market
based on math that you've done. Well, you know, I really think this company could be $1 billion company. All right, you've done no thought at all. I'm way less likely to invest in you, trust you. You just think highly of yourself.
You can't do math, is what I hear when you say, like, you don't get it, and you think very highly of yourself, and you're in for a fall. Like, that has to happen. People always need to scale back when they start talking about $1 billion ideas, and they're not like in Y Combinator building the biggest thing ever that has investors from
well, like so I have a buddy who is killing it. He's part of this company called Candid. They do Invisalign stuff, and they're worth so much. And he doesn't throw around crazy numbers. And you think about how successful they are, and let's say that it's like a 9-figure company with $100 million or $300 million.
It's incredible.
Cool. You're $700 million short of $1 billion. Like, you might one day, listen, if your company's worth a couple $100 million, you could scale to $1 billion. But still, to think, like, you're not halfway there. But he doesn't say it, is the thing. Like, he's smart. He does use math.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting because the people who are saying we're going to have $1 billion business are not raising equity at 9 figures. They're just in fairy tale land.
Yeah, no, it's the lazy man's number is what I've realized when people just throw out $1 billion.
It also means nothing. Like, the people, and I've been guilty of this too. It just gives you something to aim at. But people are like, oh yeah, I really want to earn $1 million. It's like,
that's another lazy number.
Why not earn $900,000? Is there something that after taxes you can't afford with $900,000?
Well, I think it's easier, and it shows a lack of thought. The same thing occurs when people are like, I'm gonna be the next Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, this, that, and the other thing. And again, it's like, how many people have you heard say in our industry that they're planning on being the next Tony Robbins?
A third of them.
I mean, like
100.
Yeah, like, it's insane. It's insane. And again, it shows a lack of understanding in math of what Tony had done, because when Tony was 22, he was bigger than these people are at age 30 plus. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how math. I think I'm angry at it because I see myself, or like past versions of myself, in that, which is, I was, you know, a smart kid in my small pond, and we did well with our first, you know, and struck out, and it started working for us and had a following. And I think part of me harbored this idea that I was all of these things, you know, and I guess part of my the fact that it draws so much ire from me is that I see that same thing in myself, which is, God, I thought I was so much bigger, more important, and special than I truly am. I'm a special, sorta, but I'm not once in a generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, who said that? Milo Yiannopoulos said that he is a once in a generation talent on a video that I watched.
Well, depending on the metric, I've never seen another Milo. Like, I've never seen
he was talking about entertaining, that he was talking about like Johnny Carson style. He's gonna have a late night show, and it's just like, dude, what?
He's unique. I'll give him once in a generation, depending on what you're measuring. He's very unique.
Never mind. We don't need to argue the specifics of this. I'll just let his life play out, and we'll find out if he goes down as the next Johnny Carson or not. And we won't know for another 20 or 30 years. But like, I'm betting not. And that's not because I think that he's not going to do great things. I think he will. But I think people, myself included, think that they're way more special, unique, gifted, and lucky than they truly are. And it's so okay to not. It's so okay to not be Jeff Bezos, you know, or Johnny Carson.
Well, sometimes there's guys like Kevin Hart, who I really like, who's like, yeah, I'm the rock star comedian. And you go, you sold out a stadium.
You sold out 3 stadiums in the same city, back to back.
Yeah. Like, fair enough, you are.
I think he's the most popular comedian.
The first rock star comedian.
And again, he's the most popular by a huge margin.
Yeah.
Like, the second runner-up isn't even close.
Well, I was just thinking of someone who's there, that he has a metric. You know, he's like, that was a stadium. It fit 100,000 people. I sold it out.
Yeah.
I'm a rock star comedian.
Yeah.
Like, fair enough.
Okay,
If you're watching it and that's
you and your name is Kevin Hart, Just ignore everything I ever said. Like you're spectacular and you're killing it. And you truly might be once in a generation.
I just think I thought it's it's funny. Sometimes the hyperbole is correct. You see, Draymond Green said he's the best defender that's ever played NBA basketball.
Did he?
Yeah, and then he said it for the soundbite, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Then they asked him about it. They're like, "So, Draymond, you said this," and his answer was, "You have to think it before you can achieve it. So if I don't say that I'm the greatest ever, I can never be the greatest ever. Just like if I hadn't said I was an NBA talent in high school, I wouldn't be in the NBA right now. You never just stumble into greatness."
This is tough. Argument. Okay, so I agree, but man, this is an interesting topic. Where does that get too hard? Because I agree. When you look at the Michael Jordans and the people who truly did become the best, they had an irrational belief that they could be the greatest ever. It seems necessary for achieving greatness.
Rock stars too. I forget the study, but there was some study of like famous rock stars measured by a certain thing, Billboard hits or whatever, and they asked them, when did you think you were going to be a superstar? And way disproportionately, they're like at age 15, when they've
10.
Never done anything.
Yep. So this is my question. We know, because we don't move in the world of the elite cream of the crop, because there are so few of them, a lot of the people who have done well but haven't gotten there. And there are so many more of those.
Yep. Well, weirdly, it's like if you are exceptionally talented, then having an insane sense of self is valuable because a disproportionate amount of the people that get there have that. But if you're not insanely talented, it probably is a disservice to you because instead of going and pursuing something more reasonable, you just keep pursuing the NBA career and you never get there.
So
you keep pursuing the Tony Robbins and you end up being a, failed life coach.
Well, so what should you do if you're there?
Just have an accurate sense of self-awareness.
Yeah, just
know right away.
And how does one do that? Because I think of friends. I think of like how does one get an accurate sense of where they fit into the ecosystem such that they're optimizing their potential, but also I can think of plenty of people whose inflated sense of what they could achieve actually hurts them from learning, from treating themselves as the beginners or the novices or the journeymen that they are, and they're playing bigger than they are before they're ready to go there, and they would be much better served by going into a learning phase. How does one navigate that?
Well, that's actually awesome that you said this in your question. I think you said the answer. The people that are great, they still work their asses off. So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, these guys, when they were in junior high, they thought they were going to be the NBA All-Star. They were still putting the most hours in of anyone in the gym. They get to the NBA. They still think they're going to be Hall of Famers. They are outworking all their teammates. I would bet the same thing for the musicians. The 15-year-old that thinks that they're destined to be a rock star is still getting vocal lessons, is still practicing every day, writing songs every day that suck until they get to the good ones. I think where it hurts you is when you're like, I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins, and that's my destiny. And so I'm not going to bother studying how he did it and then spending a ton of time modeling him and creating the actual chance for that to happen. Instead, you just keep saying, I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins, affirmations, I'm going to manifest this, I'm the next Tony Robbins. And then all of a sudden 20 years go by and you haven't put the work in, so it doesn't happen.
And beyond that, when you said Kobe, this came to my mind. He watched every single game back on tape and was highly critical of his play style and what he did wrong. And when I think of the people that I know that are hurting themselves, they lack that.
Yeah,
they lack the criticism of themselves.
It's the guy who says, I'm going to make $1 million in 2019. And then 2019 rolls by and they don't even get close. And then they do no analysis of like, hey, I said I was going to make $1 million in 2019. I missed hard. Why? Instead, January 1 rolls around and they go, I'm going to make $1 million in 2020.
And actively seeking out ways that you are not good enough is what I think of when I think of Kobe. It's like, he went to coaches like, tell me where I'm weak. And the people that I'm thinking of, they don't do that. They will even shut conversations down around that, whether it's emotionally shut it down or physically be like, I don't want to talk about this. That's a big thing, is this simultaneous belief that you can be exceptional and great, but also this like just ruthlessness when it comes to exposing your own flaws, weaknesses, and inabilities and inconsistencies in like setting and achieving milestones and goals. So I think that's a fair.
Yeah. I think you nailed it with your question.
Way to get there. Anyway, what we got else today?
Man, that was a much better discussion than I was expecting. Did you want to go to random, totally unrelated
Sure,
stuff? Did you see the Anthony Joshua fight?
Yes.
you
Oh
see
my
it?
God.
Dude.
So I watched the highlights. I didn't watch the fight. I was playing video games while Henry was watching it. He was just screaming.
Yeah.
And I was too obsessed with my game to get in there. He's
It's
like,
insane.
what is happening?
It's a guy that looks like a dude that you just pulled off the street.
Yeah.
Against a 6'6", gigantic, shredded monster of a man.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I watched I didn't see the intervening rounds, but it looked like he rocked him in round 3.
I was going to say, did you see the third round?
I
Anthony Joshua dropped
Yeah.
Ruiz.
Ruiz.
Just drops him. And the announcer goes, oh, it's all over.
Mm-hmm.
He's won 21 fights by knockout. He's a great finisher. He's super composed. As he's listing off.
Kaboom!
Yeah. All of a sudden, Joshua just gets dropped. And then from there, it just was this crazy, crazy back and forth thing. And do you see when he won?
I saw 7, yeah. He just quit.
Did you see him just jump up and down with joy?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
awesome. It was so awesome.
So I watched the day after. I don't know why they did it. It was the title was like Stephen A. What is the guy's name? Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
It predicts the fight. And I was like, oh, he got it right. And it's this interview with Anthony Joshua. And for 8 minutes, they talk about the fight after Ruiz because nobody even wants to mention it. They're talking about if he's going to fight whatever. I don't know boxing that well, but the other big name in boxing, Deontay Wilder, or this guy, is he ducking this fight? Is he doing this? There's no prediction. Like he just so implicitly assumed that Ruiz was a gimme.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I was like, you know what? These are our analysts.
It was great.
Like,
also, people keep talking about how out of shape looking he is.
yeah.
Dude's in incredible shape. He was throwing so many combinations that are exhausting.
He had more stamina. It looked like than Nathan. No,
Yeah.
he got rocked. But like at the end, it was.
Oh, I'm just saying. Okay, you have a lot. You're carrying a lot less body weight than he is. I'm carrying a lot less.
He jumped up and down at the end.
If the three of us threw the same combinations, we would gas long before him.
Yeah.
That was crazy too. It was not a lucky punch.
Yeah.
It was consistent, just hammering combinations.
Good for him, man.
It was dope. His joy at the end was so awesome. Ivan says he's the first Mexican heavyweight.
Is he?
Heavyweight champ. Yeah.
And he was heavier than Anthony Joshua.
I don't know.
I watched him weigh in. He was like 20 pounds heavier.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I love it.
Good for Ruiz. Congrats.
It was awesome. Apparently, I haven't seen it, but I was finding the clip to show you for the podcast. And afterwards, they had some stuff I'm going to watch about Anthony Joshua talking about it. But apparently, he handled it really well, which is impressive.
Yeah,
too.
I saw him congratulating the guy at the end. He seems like a cool dude.
Undefeated, has never been starred.
And was just like, nice job.
Yeah,
Fair play.
I think that's cool. I think
like
that's
that.
really cool. Especially
Good.
considering someone punches you in the face so many times.
For like, a good period of time, and you're really tired. But so I actually just reminded me of randomly 2 things that I want to talk about. Do you want to talk about movies and or video games first?
Do both.
Movies.
All right.
This is going to come out after. They have not yet released Dark Phoenix reviews. It is Tuesday. Now, this isn't going to come up in time. The movie will have been out when this comes up. I'm going to go on the record and potentially looking stupid, but I feel confident saying this movie is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, no reviews are coming out. The trailers look terrible. Any studio that isn't Marvel seems to just fumble superheroes these days. They have no idea how to do it. It's such a disappointment because when I look back to my childhood and which superheroes I like the most.
Yeah, the X-Men were the best.
Dude, the Dark Phoenix Saga might be my favorite.
Yeah, the X-Men were
Like,
the best.
Jean Grey getting insane powers is so cool, and I have no interest.
So the X-Men saga the X-Men movies are interesting to me because I feel like they started off well and then got every lesson wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the first movie that ever came out that was an X-Men movie was great.
Wasn't that like the first superhero movie?
Yeah, and it was great. And then the second one comes out with the Nightcrawler opening scene.
The best.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then I forget the third one, but it was bad.
No, it was Last Dance, Brett Ratner.
That's the one where the Jean Grey Dark Phoenix.
It was where they had a Dragon Ball Z fight.
Yeah, so
and I was like, this is what you're going to do with Iceman and Pyro.
Yeah.
They're going to blast ice and fire at each other. This is the most creative thing you could come up with. Iceman could be skating around. Pyro could be... No.
So that was terrible. And then Wolverine Origins came out, right?
Yes.
And that was really, really bad. Then
Was it Origins? There was... Yeah, there
No,
was a couple.
because then the first movie came out with the new young cast.
Mm-hmm.
And it was excellent.
It was awesome.
It was
but
excellent.
Not
but it
a,
did
not a
really
box office
badly
success, yeah.
because the last 2 movies had been bad.
Yeah.
But then the X-Men people saw that and went, "Oh, well, this is a failed movie.
Yeah.
So we should change
More
this.
Hugh Jackman is what we need.
We
Yeah.
should change this formula," which is a shame because it was actually really good.
Yeah.
And so again, then the next one was bad, and then the Apocalypse movie was terrible. And so it's just
Those
an
are
interesting.
you know what? I take it back. Apocalypse is my favorite storyline, and that was so
Yes.
bad.
Well, and that's what's interesting is like you started off well, and then somehow you lost it. and then you figured it out again somehow, and then you made absolute garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're using as their metrics for like lessons learned from past movies, but it seems like they had it figured out. This is like when Deshaun Jackson ran it to the 1 yard line and then threw it away.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the X-Men movies.
I came back after Apocalypse and I wrote how the movie should have gone. I was going to put a video up, I think.
It's the worst. It's terrible. Just a terrible.
I was like, we're not a movie channel, but this is what should have happened in X-Men Apocalypse.
This deserves a rewrite.
Okay, just to be short, it was Cyclops' movie, okay? It was about Cyclops not having all the superpowers. They had it set up. He was like an outsider. He didn't have the cool powers. He was just destructive. It's about him realizing that his role in the X-Men is the team bringer, the leader. He brings everyone together at the end. It was his movie, and they tried to make it Jennifer Lawrence's movie. And it's like, we've seen Mystique. I get it. J. Law's the biggest name. Like, it's time for her not to have a leading role in this. Her powers are boring at this point. We don't care. And I wrote a whole movie.
Dude, you know what else I love about that? That I love to laugh at about the X-Men movies?
What's that?
They will just end with the worst consequences ever and never address it.
Yeah!
They had a movie where Magneto, I think,
lifted a stadium onto the White House.
They go back in time, they change things, and then Magneto drops a stadium on the White House. And then they're like, we won! Wait, if your goal was to make humans not fear mutants, I don't think this accomplished your goal.
Well, imagine the hand-waving that's going to go on at the beginning of Dark Phoenix.
Dude, so in Apocalypse,
they destroy the world. Every major city gets magnetoed.
I'm pretty sure the planet would just fall apart based on what Magneto did, right? He has disrupted the core of the Earth.
Can you imagine the unending campaign there would be? I mean, there are nations that still fight after thousands of years of this. Like, you think they're going to just not hunt down and murder every mutant?
Magneto is in the movie, walking around in the world.
Yes.
Like, dude, what?
At one point, he speaks to a guy in the army.
This guy killed 1 billion people?
100 million. Let's remember our math.
1/7. Dude, did you see what he did?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually think he destroyed the planet. I think we're all dead.
To be fair, most people might not live in massive, I actually don't know this worldwide, metropolitan areas. Maybe they do. But those are the areas where everyone's
doesn't he
dead.
Pull the Earth's core apart?
No, he like shakes every city to the point that it disintegrates. Yeah, and like bridges tumble and like, yeah, if you're in a high rise, you're
it's
done.
Laughable. That could be considered a victory. Is laughable to me.
Well, okay, it could be considered a victory, but it's like, okay, what kind of post-apocalyptic world do we now live in? This is the apocalypse, okay? Everything is everything is okay.
Everything's fine. Schools are fine.
Yeah, we'll see.
Actually, now I kind of want to see it just for the first 5 minutes.
They're gonna hand wave around it. They're gonna go, oh, we have a tenuous balance with the humans now. Yeah, it's just everybody sell your rights to Marvel. That's my request. Everybody just give them to Marvel. They'll take it from here. They got the formula. They do it great every time. So that was the one. And then the other, you know this about me, but yeah, I destroyed my body this last week playing Total War for probably 12 hours a day, 5 days in a row. I was up till 5 a.m. My aura, I should show you the phone app. I have 1 day tracked, and it's 3.5 hours of sleep. And then other days aren't even tracked.
Is that real?
Dude, it was 5:30 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Why are you getting up at 9 a.m. though?
Because I have a dog that is like, he wants to get up and he wants to go take a pee.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was bad. I was shaking.
Oh, my God.
And then sitting down and playing some more.
So I was going to say, any takeaways from
I didn't play yesterday. No, dude, I knew this was going to be the lifespan of it. I was like, rather than fight this addiction, it's like a candle. It just has to burn all the wax out, and then there's nothing left to burn. And so, like, that's what I did, is I just played and played and played, and yesterday I was like, I'm not going to play today. Wasn't hard, didn't require any willpower, destroyed my body for a week, and now.
So how many days or weeks do you think until the next game that you play 12 hours a day?
It's got to be a special game for that. It's got to be a Divinity or that. That doesn't happen all the time.
Okay. This is not what happens anytime you buy
No. I would say games that did that were Divinity, Spider-Man to a degree, and this. So
Breath
it's
of
like
the Wild?
Breath of the Wild, yeah. Yeah, Breath of the Wild for sure. So it's like maybe one a season. One a season just ruins my life. But really it makes it better. It doesn't ruin it. Like
your help.
I just don't sleep for a while, which seems unimportant in the final analysis.
I'm going to be honest, a couple times. So like many times actually, various people ask me what's up with you, how's the business going, whatever, what are you up to? I'll mention video games, or Ivan will see how often you play, or Henry. Everyone's like, does it bother you that Charlie plays video games so often? Like, We had the best month ever. I don't know what he's doing. He's like plays video games and then just blacks out.
My mind
comes up with a great YouTube video. I was like, if everything was falling apart while it was happening, maybe, but
I'm boosting my charisma.
Things
stat.
are great. Yeah.
I'm learning about the AI.
How could I get mad?
It's that robotic analytic view of the world that is helping me to get in there and analyze the humans.
This is truly my answers. If things were going badly in other areas of life, yeah, it'd be concerning how many hours went into total whatever it's called. But
total war. Get it right.
Relationship with Grace didn't seem to suffer.
Yeah.
Relationship with me and Henry didn't seem to suffer. Business did better than it ever did.
She was disappointed. She wanted more attention, but
all right, well,
you gotta understand. I tried to include her in on it. I was like, this is how we do diplomacy. Like we make peace.
Well, it's a multiplayer game, right?
It could be. It's a board game in essence. It's a video strategy board game where you take turns and you try to conquer China.
Have you ever played Settlers of Catan?
I have. It's that on steroids.
You don't like it?
I like it. The difference with this game and Catan is that you have to wait for the other people in Catan. So you're playing a third of the time. And so this is you go and then 10 computers go in the span of 5 seconds. And then so it's just always your turn, which is what makes it so horribly addicting. It's like, I took that place. And then, no, they're invading. And then you got to get it back.
Nice.
I get spiteful towards the computers. That just is my downfall every time. But yeah, so that's been my week is nice. Doing that. I had another interesting video idea that we should do. I'll see if I can remember it. If I can't, I'll tell you about it.
Well, I was going to ask you this. What are you working on now? Talking Head?
I now am working on Russell Brand.
7. What about the 7 psychological tricks?
I already did it.
That's going to come out in
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
We're 2 weeks ahead.
So that'll when this podcast comes out is probably before that comes out.
Yeah. I had an interesting idea for a video. I'll have to get it. It's just a slightly new format of doing things. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. I'll share it with you when I remember it offline. If I had my phone.
Did you see the cruise ship and the Venice Canal?
No.
Do you want to see it?
Did a cruise ship go into a Venice Canal?
Let me pull up the tape for you. Yeah. Italy.
What? Who is he honking at?
He's just telling everyone to run.
He can't stop. What?
Yeah, he's just begging people to get out of the way.
And somebody's got a camera, just knows that this is the shot. He's just moving at no miles an hour.
So apparently he had an engine failure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't do nearly as much damage as I expected.
No, apparently 5 people were hurt.
On the boat or off the boat?
I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like he's fine. It looks like he's just like crawling towards people. Can a boat kill you? Like if you were like in the ocean and...
Oh, yeah. That
how?
boat?
Yeah.
That boat's huge. Dude, F equals MA.
Yes, but it also like, isn't it just rolling you off the side of it? Like...
No, dude. My surfboard hit me in the head and gave me a concussion. My surfboard's so light. Imagine if that had been a boat.
But okay, say it's moving this fast. Don't you just kind of like roll with the side of it? No?
It would depend how fast it was going, I guess. But
I could be wrong. And then the end, you get to the propeller. Then you're doomed.
It's such a big boat.
That's a big boat.
It's such a ridiculous...
Did Ivan send you this?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Have you seen this? It's like, no. I looked at it. It's just mesmerizing. This gigantic boat just coming, and it can't stop itself because its engine is broken. Apparently they had 2 little tugboats that were trying to pull it, trying to stave off the disaster.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Just put it in. Not enough horsepower. Poor guys.
Just a ridiculous turn of events.
Yeah.
I guess Venice has been trying for a while to ban cruise ships because they come in and they set a big wake, so they kind of destroy beachfront property. It kind of messes with the canals.
That'll do it.
Well, yeah. So now, like, hey, remember when we said we didn't want any cruise ships?
Yeah. This is gonna push us over.
We don't want any cruise ships.
Yeah. No more cruising. Yeah, they get enough tourists. They don't need that.
Yeah. No. Apparently, it's very destructive to the canals.
I wonder if I should go to Venice. Have you been?
I have not, but I was surprised when you planned your Italy trip that you...
A lot of people say that it's like, oh, it's so pretty, and then you get so tired of it so fast.
Interesting.
Now, maybe that's perfect for a trip, but...
I've been to Rome and Florence. I thought Florence was boring, and I liked Rome.
Rome was nuts. Rome was great.
Yeah.
But what else you got for me?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
I thought Ivan sent you a bunch of cool stuff.
No, he sent me 4 things. I mean, one of them was there was a presidential candidate, Kamala I think her name
Kamala Harris.
Kamala, yeah, sure, Kamala Harris, and
I think that's her name.
she was being interviewed or giving a speech, and some guy ran up on stage because he wanted to talk about being vegan, and so he stole the microphone from her and was like, "There are bigger issues than what you're talking about. What you're talking about doesn't matter." But they just cut his mic and carry. I didn't think it was a good clip worth talking about.
Yeah,
they just cut his mic and then carry him, like 6 people carry him off stage, and then everyone just starts chanting her name. And then it's back to normal. This is a super non-event, I thought.
Well, I mean, we've had this discussion. I do completely understand where that guy is coming from, in the sense that if you believe that animals matter, the ones that we eat have, if the way that you define a being worthy of rights is like, can it experience pain, suffering, etc., it's pretty clear that pigs, cows, chickens can. It's a genocide a day. It's out of control. Yes. And we're like, what of immigration policy? And I see exactly where he's coming from.
Sure. But there's also, like, be effective. If your goal is to stop the slaughter of animals, I don't think jumping on the stage and stealing a microphone for 10 seconds is going to do anything.
Yeah. Well,
Richard Branson is trying to do this. He's investing in alternative animal products. Probably a smarter way to go about it.
Sure, but I mean, let's pretend that you thought this was a Holocaust. Do you invest in alternative sources?
Still smarter. This guy's just gonna get arrested now, and he's done nothing. He convinced no one. It's
sure,
like
I guess he probably just feels, I have to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think
people lit themselves on fire. You know what I mean? To protest atrocities. Like, how effective was that? I don't know. We talk about it, but like, did anybody stop committing atrocities? Probably not. They do it to call attention to the thing and be like, this is so wrong and I have no way to stop it. And so, yes, could he be more effective about it? Certainly. Does this match the way that people treat other genocides? And they sort of, like, you just create a scene. You just go, this is wrong. I don't like this.
Yeah, but then do something. Organize other people to do a march or something. Like, one guy jumping on a stage for, it's literally 15 seconds. Seems like a very ineffective way to create change.
I agree. He's probably not a good marketer. That is the safe.
No, and he said, he even in the thing, he's like, I tried to talk to you about this outside, but you wouldn't stop. This has to, like, you can tell this wasn't a planned thing. He tried to get her attention before the speech, and then he's just at his wit's end for what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you didn't convince her. You didn't convince the audience. I actually like your position, but I couldn't hear it because they cut your mic.
Yeah.
Like, this is just not a good way to achieve your goals.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I've thought about that. I was like, what? How? Given that the people care about what they care about, which is themselves, and that's not changing. And given that we have the tools that we have at our disposal, which are changing, which right now is social media is the biggest way to amplify a message. How do you create thoughtful, positive change in the world that fundamentally at every single level is going to ask people to be less selfish, which is the least likely thing you're going to get them to do? It's hard.
I'd be curious if they have stats on if Cowspiracy was impactful.
I think it was, man.
So that's my question.
I think it was.
Documentary the way to go?
So I think that changed a lot of people's minds. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and be like, did you watch Cowspiracy? Did you watch Cowspiracy? And the truth is, what is interesting is some of the research that goes into that, I've looked it up.
Not the perfect documentary.
Is not sound, but in terms of persuasion, incredibly effective. The other thing that's really interesting in Cowspiracy is that he wisely paces and leads. Yes. So he pretends that he's just a documentary filmmaker who is, maybe I'll do this. What? Cows? Interesting.
Yeah.
And he comes across this, and by the end, he's gone from person who didn't care to person who now can't eat animals. And the truth is, that's a lie. He was hardcore anti-animal products from the get-go. But had he come out and said that at the beginning of the documentary, he couldn't have paced his audience and led them there, which is so fascinating to me. Because it's like, okay, your research is a little bit sloppy, you're deceptive in your tactics, but incredibly effective in your end goals. Talk about Machiavellian, really interesting. And I don't know where my moral compass judges you at. Certainly that's not how I would want to do things, but I think it's really interesting.
Well, I'm just thinking in general, like, let's say you do want to cut down on people consuming animals, right? So one way to do it, I think, is the Impossible Burger route. Start a company that leads the world in that direction. The other one, I think, is, and I could be wrong, Omnivore's Dilemma, Cowspiracy, something of that nature that's gripping and gets people to consume it at a huge scale. And then you only convert 5% of viewers to your side. 95% of people that saw Cowspiracy ate a hamburger within that week.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do.
Oh, more than that probably. But yeah.
I wonder if that's the best way to go about it.
Certainly, long term, I think economics are what changes things.
Yeah, that's what happened with slavery.
Yeah.
We didn't realize that slavery was bad until
the North was economically so much. Yeah. The North was more economically powerful, and that's a big debate that historians have as to what degree moral concerns started the Civil War.
Is that still up for debate? I thought it was like pretty well handled that it was.
Somebody thinks the opposing side, and I haven't done enough research to have an opinion. But my sense of humans is that we rarely band together to take care of the out group. Rarely.
My impression was that it was not in the face of it destroying the economy. Someone said, said this is wrong.
No,
but it was like, okay, this has become economically neutral. Now we can start to consider if this is wrong. Oh, wow. We started to consider that if this is wrong. Turns out it's really super fucked up.
Dude, if we do interviews, I'd love to get a historian on here. That'd be super interesting to talk about.
I don't think that anybody, and I could be wrong. I think what came first was first it became economically neutral.
I think you're right based on what I know about humans and not about history. Because, people don't ever in their personal or public lives, or very rarely, do something at significant cost to themselves to help someone that they don't see as a member of their own tribe.
I mean, at a personal level, I still hate not eating steak. Like
I was thinking that the other day. I was like, I hate it. Like and it's funny.
Yeah, it's not fun. Like when I'm trying to talk to my friends, and I present the reason why you and I stopped eating mammals. Mm-hmm. They all say it's a great point. I have no holes in your logic at all. But man, do I just love a steak. And it's like, so do I.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I stopped eating it. But they're fantastic. And so now we're completely on the same fact set. We all agree with my reasons. We all agree steak is delicious. And then people just make their own decisions.
It's so fascinating how morality evolves. Because I was on.
Yeah, once it's lab grown, by the way, they'll all stop eating, factory farmed cows.
But the fact that isn't, and it's not abhorrent to you to hear. Because on the one level, we can rationally acknowledge that we're not going to do it. And it was a difficult thing for us to get to. But that someone that you love and care about could go, but I don't care because it's tasty. And that doesn't disgust us, I think says a lot about morality.
Well, yeah, it's because I'm the wacky out group. Like,
and that's what morality is.
I'm in the social minority.
And this is what's crazy.
No, so we're at a dinner. Let's say 9 people ordered steak. I ordered salmon. They ask why, because you're at a steakhouse. You give your spiel. You kind of feel bad. Personally, I feel bad saying, I'm like, listen, I'll just do my own thing. And they're like, no, tell us. I'm like, well, I'm not trying to judge you. Like, I don't even want to talk about it because now I don't want to make people feel badly about what they're doing.
Which is that insane
which
of
is
you?
Weird, yeah. Yeah.
I don't want you to feel bad about something that might in future generations be judged as genocidal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be viewed as horrible.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel it viscerally, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, I
don't feel it viscerally at all.
I stopped
I feel viscerally jealous when I watch someone eat a delicious steak.
I stopped doing it because you and I talked about it, and it was like, okay, 200 years ago when they think that factory farmed
slaughterhouses. You should say this so that people understand even what we're talking about. So Ben and I don't eat mammals because go ahead.
So I watched the movie 12 Years a Slave on a flight with you, and afterwards we asked, what is today's slavery? Because the part of the plot of the movie is that there's a good moral slave owner.
He's a nice guy.
He's a religious guy, and he's just doing what is normal for the day. Mm-hmm. And flash forward to our time, slave owners are monsters. It's a horrible thing to do, but everyone was doing it. Well, we're not at the moral pinnacle of society.
So we realized that if we were
our version of slavery,
if we were in the South in 1820, it'd be like, I'd have slaves.
Yeah. So 200 years from now, what are people going to look back on 2019 and go, those guys are monsters? Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's going to have to do with transgender athletes. I think it's going to be taking cows and putting them in horrible living conditions in small farms and shoving hormones in them and then slaughtering them.
Yeah. Because it's tasty.
Yeah. Because, and you kind of made this point, like the history of humanity is to expand what counts as a person. So that, if you want to explain that further, that's your thesis.
That humanity, and I don't even know that it's mine. Other people probably have said this, but it started with it's you, and then you get your tribe, but it's all, not the women and not the children and not just the men.
Yeah, no one of different ethnicity or gender.
And
just,
there's slaves.
Just men have rights.
Yes,
Men
anyone
make
who is from a
decisions.
different tribe doesn't even matter. Then it's okay. All the men of the same color were part of a tribe. It's still not the women. It's still not the gays. And still not the this. And you go about including women matter and children matter and gay people matter and people of different skin colors matter. And so we've gotten close, and people who are invalid and old and all different things. We're like almost species wide, but the commonality is always, it's never been about species. It's been about demonizing the other as animal. Has always been the case.
Yeah.
And saying those are animals. They're savages. They're barbarians. That's what it means. And so I went, well, who are the animals today? And I said, I wonder if it's the animals, if it's...
Well, it's also interesting because if you treated a dog the way that we treat cows,
people
you'd go to jail. You'd literally go to jail.
You see how people freak out about what happens in China when they eat their dogs and they have this festival and like they lose their minds.
Yeah, but dogs and cows.
Meanwhile,
I think,
in India,
same intellect.
Well, in India, they revere cows and would be mortified by what we do. So in any event, we came to the conclusion that in 200 years, the thing that people are going to be most upset about is factory farming, and then there's some gray area around legitimate, not legitimate. Hunting in a way where the animal has a wonderful life up until that final second when it
I'm gray on that.
Yeah.
Should you be vegan? Is it okay to elk hunt with a bow? I'm actually not here to say that that's going to be viewed like slavery, but I think the factory farming is the easy, obvious one. If you just Google those videos, they're horrific.
But again, I guess coming back to what we were saying is it is interesting then that we have to take such intellectual, rational, moral pains to get ourselves to make that change. And it would be so easy to just jump back in with the current from an emotional perspective and even what feels...
Oh, yeah. No one's making me feel good about this. I'm not getting patted on the back for it.
No, what feels right. And I think that it says a lot about morality. And it's kind of why I guess I'm a moral relativist in this. Like, it just arises as a gut instinct that says, what is everybody doing? What do other people think is right and wrong? And it takes such dramatic pains to step a little bit outside of that.
It still takes willpower for me when I'm in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, that would be good. And I think in 200 years, when there's lab-grown meat and stuff, no one is going to have that compulsion to kill a cow and eat it. But no, there's no pats on the backs for doing it. People kind of look at you weird when you explain it. Even if people do agree with your logic, they don't change their behavior.
I've changed one person's mind, I think, and it's yours.
You trickle down. Yeah. So my buddy Tim, I was at his house the other day, and he said, "I've been thinking about what you said 2 months ago or whatever it was." He's like, "It's been in the back of my mind. And I'm not going to stop eating meat, but I am going to look to source it from specific places." He's like, "I'm going to pay more to know exactly where it's coming from and know that it was not caged and horribly abused. If it was from a farm, it was like free range or whatever that is." And he was like, "Yeah, I just wanted you to know, like, very few people change my mind on things, but I've actually had behavior change because of this."
Cool.
Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that at all. You actually dragged it out of me awkwardly at a steakhouse because I was eating fish. I didn't even want to share. So if you're at the patriarch, you can count 2 changed humans.
Well, and then this is, I guess, back to our original idea. That's the opposite of viral.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of viral. And so the question then becomes, how do you change the world?
Well, I don't think you do it intellectually. I think you do it with videos of cows being brutalized.
I think you're right.
I think if you could just strap people down like.
But again, those have existed forever.
No, but you got Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, but you can't.
But no. I know you can't. So
what does one do?
Well, I'm just saying. So you try to make viral things that incorporate that. I think you try to figure out how do I get that message shared? The brutal videos, because dude, I can't even remember seeing one. I know they're out there.
But you probably avoid them. And so this is an interesting thing where Cowspiracy comes in, which is the pacing and the leading and the not going too quick is, I think, really important. It's
like a lady.
Yeah. I've thought a lot about this when we were raising money for charity water. I was like, people don't care, and there's there's so many charities and so many good ones and so many ones you're not sure about. How do I get people to care?
I think everyone who donated because they like charisma and command. I don't think one person, well, I don't want to say that. The majority of people were not like, "Oh, I'm so touched by this cause that you guys have educated me on.
Yeah.
I want to get water to these people." I think mostly they were like, Charlie set a goal of 30 grand for his 30th birthday, and I like him, and I want to help him reach that goal. And the fact that this is helping get clean water is a total side product.
I realized that, and I thought about that, and I've seen that might be the best way, because if without them barely even trying, Emilia Clarke had she had brain issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw. And then she started this I guess nonprofit in order to help people rehabilitate. I forget what it's called. And she just put a video up about it and was, raising money and was appreciative. Reddit got a hold of it and said, hey guys, this season kind of sucked for the actors who did a great job. Can we help Amelia? And it like blew up. Like so much money was raised. And then somebody was like, oh, I know it's great. Like Kit Harington also has a cause that like, can we help Kit out? And like Kit Harington's cause then raised a bunch of money.
Oh, what's his cause?
I don't even know. And I don't think people care.
Yeah.
Which is what's interesting. And so I was like, you know what? In order to change the world, these guys have been more effective than me with fewer calls to action.
Amelia Clark, you mean?
Yeah.
Or the Redditors?
Amelia Clark.
Okay.
And Jon Snow. And the reason is because Kit Harington, Jon Snow. That's my point, is that how do you do it? You don't get people to care about the cause, you get them to care about you. Mm-hmm. And this is why you give your niece money when she's running a 5K for who cares what. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it
totally. Doesn't
matter. She's my niece. And so if you want to, make a positive impact in the world, become an individual who has a wide fan base who cares about them. And I think of PewDiePie, who's raised a ton of money. And quite frankly, he could pick his cause. And people would donate and sign up on these live streams. Markiplier, a lot of the YouTubers have done this kind of stuff. And we haven't done that. We have educated people in the past, but we haven't built a cult of personality around us purposefully. But I feel like in some ways, in order to make a bigger impact.
You're saying, let's say 2.7 million subscribers, charisma on command. 2.7 million subscribers, personality based.
I'll give you Gus Johnson, who has fewer subscribers and around as many views. He makes comedy content. It's about him. He's got fans,
right.
Him. Like, he could raise so much more money than us. For cause wouldn't matter. Marketing copy and the call to action wouldn't matter. And so
we'll find out this October.
Yeah, sneak preview. We're gonna raise some money.
We're gonna raise $100,000.
Yeah, well, whatever.
And we're gonna match it with 100,000 more. Oh. So yeah, if anyone wants to give me $100,000
so I can
match it, that'd be great.
It's gonna be a rough day. It's a pretty big check. Yeah. So anyway, that's
coming
something
in October. No, yeah, it's an interesting question for sure. The moral relativism is interesting too, because it is true that I feel uncomfortable telling people that what they're doing, I think, is going to be viewed as barbaric in 200 years.
Yeah, and again, I don't imagine someone in Germany who's like, hey, maybe those Jews are people.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm wrong.
Like,
or I'm not saying
hey,
I'm
maybe
right.
we shouldn't do that. Like, it's I don't think that they deserve to be treated that way. It seems like they can experience pain, and suffering.
Well, to be clear, like, it's not like the Holocaust was stopped by Germans.
No.
Some Germans got in there. I'm not saying all Germans are bad, but it's not like internally the group made the change. It was a different group that had a different set of beliefs that came in and said,
no,
don't do that.
Yeah. So very interesting when I think about how to get things.
So India is going to stop us from eating cows that will rise up.
But ultimately, to round this off, that's talking about the demand side. That's how you make a demand side shift, is you get people to care about an individual, and then by caring about that individual, sometimes that extends to the thing, to the cause. Mm-hmm. There's also an interesting case of like fitness, which is really interesting, which points to selfishness, right? Can you convince someone that it is in their selfish best interest? Recycling, perhaps, is a better example. Can you make there be social judgment on the person who doesn't have a recycling bin out on their street when it comes time for garbage pickup day? Like, how can you make it a socially negatively judged thing such that it impacts you selfishly is one way to change it. And then, of course, the way that we'll just put it away is economics. Now, pure selfishness says you're just going to eat better tasting
lab-grown meat is exactly the same,
So... yeah, but good news. I mean, we're moving in the right direction, even if it's unfortunately technology that takes us there and not our own self-sacrifice.
Apparently some of the, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but some of the meat alternatives are not healthy either. They're fake healthy.
Yeah, I'm sure the first ones will be. But that's true of everything when I think of these bars. Like, finally it seems like we've gotten to some bars that have 3 ingredients and don't just have fake sugar substitutes that have their own damning things that we'll find out kill you in a little bit. There's a lot of that. I used to eat a lot of those bars.
Yeah.
And then, no sugar, except it's got this word that's this long in it that no studies have been done on. Like,
tastes so good. Tastes
just like sugar.
Yeah.
Wonder if it has any negative side effects. That's like the history of the food industry.
Yeah.
Is one thing you find out is not good for you, but again, people don't want to not eat stuff that tastes good. So you come up with a long, stupid scientific thing that gets a similar taste, which is just poison but hasn't been studied yet.
Yeah.
It's 0 grams of
what
trans
was it?
fat.
Aspartame. What was the sugar replacement that was just poison?
I mean stevia and
no, but there's one that's just sucralose or aspartame.
All of them. High fructose corn syrup, like the whole 9 yards. It's just all.
What's in Sweet and Low?
Sweet and Low is, I thought, aspartame or stevia.
Okay. It's not. I don't think it's stevia. There's something that came out and was like, oh, everyone's gonna do this, and then it's like, oh, this is terrible. This is a huge disaster.
Yeah. So, all food is bad for you.
Don't eat. That's your strategy. Play video games and don't eat.
The food pyramid's upside down.
Oh man, I'm getting hungry talking about all these foods.
Yeah. I went 40 hours without eating this weekend.
Did you really?
Yeah. I did 40.
Do you feel like all the cancer cells in your body have just given up?
I kept talking about them.
And starved to death?
I was like, autophagy.
Right, I mean, we have very different strategies. I go green tea every day, lots of berries. You go...
I'm going to do a 24-hour fast once a week, I think.
This was 40 hours?
This was 40. This is way harder than 24. 24 is easy, man. 24 is dinner time to dinner time. Like...
I told you, I think the real magic happens between 24 and 36.
So what I saw, and it's 24 to 36, allegedly, compared to the one video that I watched, was fat loss. And so, like, if you're trying to lose fat, that's where you want to do. But they were, and your autophagy will spike then. But they said anytime after hour 13 to 15, you're entering autophagy. So if you can go 20, yeah.
Interesting. Have you talked to Justin?
Justin said it gets better as you get longer, but it's all good for you. That was what he said.
Got it.
Like, longer is better, 36 is better, but it's all good for you. And I think it depends on... I didn't really clarify my goals, nor did he say what his were, but I'm not necessarily trying to go into ketosis. I'm not trying to burn fat.
I'm just trying to live forever.
I'm just trying to do the gut clear, that kind of stuff. So,
How do you feel?
Dude, the day after I was wrecked. Now, granted, I hadn't been sleeping
for hours 24 to 40, you're saying, or for the day?
Dude, yesterday I was so tired. Now, granted, I hadn't slept because of Total War. I hadn't eaten because of this fast. I was just a mess. But yesterday, this is the first day I feel semi back. So yeah, that's why I was like, man, I kind of wish I ate last night. It would be nice to have done some of this recovery over the sleeping time and not while I took a nap. I was done yesterday.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so didn't feel good immediately. Let's put it that way.
Dude, I tried to do keto. Did I tell you this? I tried to do keto. I got the keto flu. So normally I feel like a pretty healthy, high energy guy. I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, life's good, eating good, whatever. I was like, oh, I'll try ketosis. Everyone always raves about how good it is for the brain. So I got what is called the keto flu, I guess.
Yeah.
I was sweating. My head hurt. I felt lethargic. I was just laying on the couch. I didn't have the energy to do any work or to go to the gym. I was like, why am I doing this?
It's terrible.
I normally feel good. I'm not trying to solve for anything. I don't literally know any of the benefits of ketosis that I'm aiming for. I'm just doing it because so many people talk about it.
Yeah.
And I was just laying on the couch and like, this is stupid.
Have you ever had what those people talk about, like the mental fog lifting based on what you eat? I never have experienced that. That's like the thing that because I'm foggy. I could use some.
Are you?
I feel like I could, like, I'm tired often. And I could, like, use a pick me up, but no, man, I've never eaten anything that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, like, I sleep 8 hours a day. I eat relatively clean, and I feel good. But I'm so easily sucked into the fads. Like, I loved the idea of intermittent fasting, and I love the idea of ketosis, even though I'm not.
Well, intermittent fasting was sold by Engineering the Alpha, which was just, like, perfectly pitched.
Yeah.
You're like, did you say alpha?
Testosterone boosting?
Testosterone boosting?
I did used to have the testosterone of a very old woman.
Yeah.
At one point. I don't know why that got better.
We never talked about this, but I think it might be interesting. The alpha male thing. It was on the Adam Conover thing with Joe Rogan long time ago. Not a long time ago, a month or two ago.
Long time ago on the internet.
On the internet. But I wanted to talk about it then. Did you watch it?
I watched parts. It was actually hard to watch. I think, one, because he says the word a bunch, so it's just literally hard to listen to. And two, because to me it seemed like such a beatdown. Like Joe Rogan was just asking questions, and I only watched certain clips, but it seemed like that guy just was making stuff up as he went, and anytime he would start to lose, he would change the argument to something else, and it was messy. I couldn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
honestly.
it appeared to me to be a semantic argument. I actually watched the video when it came out a long time ago, and I was like, this isn't proving what you think it's proving. So he says that we don't actually have alpha males, and the concept of alpha males and wolves is the guy who made it regrets it, which again doesn't mean that it's not the case.
Yeah,
like,
the guy who invented the golden doodle regrets it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
still a great thing.
In wolves, who knows what may or may not happen, but the concept of the alpha male and the wolf was then ported to talk about alpha males in humans. And his point is that that's not how humans arrange themselves, to which I respond, no duh. Neither do we bark at each other, hump each other for dominance. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that are not the same. But the concept of a type of man that is a leader and has leadership responsibilities and advantages, I would say certainly exists in humans. And beyond that, the type of man that is near universally attractive to women also exists, by simple fact that, like, they look similar in magazines and on TV, and, like, it's not just a random assortment of people. If there were no group of men that stood out as more physically attractive, or even beyond that, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, attractive, financially, then it would just be a random assortment of models. You know what I mean? It wouldn't matter. They could be anybody. And so it was almost a non-starter of an argument. And Joe's like, you don't think that there's guys that, like, just are attractive to women and are confident and get what they well. So my sense of it was, yes, I agree with your point that it's not like wolves, but there are certainly traits that we can find in common if you define alpha male as the type of man who, first and foremost, is widely attractive to women, and second, is likely to be a leader, which is, I think, those cross-pollinate really well.
Well, one thing I thought that the Adam guy said that I just thought was silly. He goes, well, okay, so athletes, right? A lot of women like athletes. They're considered alpha males, but not every woman is attracted to an athlete. It's like, that doesn't prove anything. Sometimes you have a group of people that really like role-playing games, and they like Dungeons and Dragons, and they go to anime conventions, and they'll like someone who's not an athlete. If you think that there's not a guy in that group that is a leader that the other guys look up to and that most of the women are attracted to, you're wrong.
Yeah. It proves the point.
He's just the alpha male, or whatever you want to call it, the leader, the most attractive person in that group. Mm-hmm. But if you dig down and you just say, okay, we're going to ignore everyone except for people that fit this description, there's still an 80-20. There's still 20% of the people that are attractive to the vast majority of the people.
Yeah.
So even that, it's like, this isn't doing anything to your point.
Well, I think then his point, which he was trying to make, because he had sort of a social cause to it, which is we need to encourage men to be different kinds of things, to which I say absolutely. You know, like, you don't have to be an alpha male. And in fact, the benefit is that that you get to be a leader, which is good and bad, and that more women are attracted to you, which is good and bad. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to want to be all of these things, and I certainly don't need to put alpha male as better, but I'm just describing it as someone who tends to be a leader, accruing the responsibilities and advantages, and tends to be attractive to a wider range of women. Yeah. It's not prescriptive.
Also, there are totally guys that are doing exactly what he's saying they should do in order to be the alpha of a group. Mm-hmm. There's so many guys that go into acro yoga or body work or become super woo into chakras. Yeah. And they're mostly just doing it so that they can be attractive to the women in that group.
Or for whatever reason, and I'm fully with his thing that we should support, but this is where that argument then gets messy, because then he's talking about masculinity, and it's like, we need to support different kinds of masculinity. And I almost go, just tell people to do what they want and forget if it's masculine or not. Yeah. Like,
you're the one who's like you, Adam, are the one that's saying that masculine is good. I don't care if it's masculine.
Like, just do what you like, man. You like to hula hoop? Go hula hoop.
Yeah,
like,
don't worry about defining it as masculine or not.
Are video games masculine or not? I don't know. I'm obsessed. Like, I just want to play Total War. Yeah. That was the masculine thing. Is, again, when people use it as a North Star is where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a super tangent, but it reminds me of it. So I was just watching this Jordan Peterson thing from 2018 where he talks about the idea of casual relationships and guys
dude,
getting.
We have the same IP address.
It
just gives us the same videos. Yeah.
So and he's talking, and one of the things he says, he's talking about Tiger Woods and all these things, and this athlete who gets women thrown at him, and the sentence that I thought was really funny, he goes, "And yes, is there something appealing in a juvenile way about having women throwing themselves at you and sleeping with whoever you want? Yes. But if all you want is casual relationships, I think you should aspire to something greater." And it's like, you're just picking adjectives that are negative. But if you said the same sentence, but instead of juvenile, you said awesome, and instead of casual, you just said stress-free, this would be a positive. And so
he didn't make an argument. I just watched this video.
Exactly.
He made no argument. He made an assertion.
It was just a label. It's in the same way that sometimes, people will call guys immature in an attempt to get them to.
It's an interesting conversation and one that I want to have with him, but I felt he dropped the ball there. He made no argument. He just made an assertion. And beyond that, he said, I just watched this. He's like, if you could divorce sex from family and sex from morality, then I went, well, hold on. You can absolutely divorce sex from family. And this is an interesting time that we live in where sex is near 100% divorceable from family.
Yeah.
And so I would love to have this conversation with him. I'm fascinated. I really think his point of view is interesting. But yeah, man, he made no argument there. He just disparaged.
Yeah. Well, so my only takeaway was it's interesting that sometimes people just use insulting labels to try to make a point, which is not a point.
Yeah.
Or in this case, Adam saying we have to call these things masculine so that people will want to do them. And it's like, what you are labeling things is just based on your opinion.
Yeah.
It's not based on anything else.
Yeah. No, I've wanted to talk to. I have a handful of questions for Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him.
That's my biggest one because I can. Yeah, I get it. The issue that I see is because I've admittedly done the immature thing of having dating lots of women, and I've been not on the NBA level of that, but I've experienced that, and I do think that there's not an emptiness to that necessarily, but it can be insubstantial. But my real question is, okay, so let's say that that's insubstantial. You present the family as a meaningful alternative. And I have real questions about that because I've witnessed a lot of families and I see a lot of problems and not a lot of things that I really want to participate in. I see a lot of divorces, a lot of people who would be better off divorced. I've met some people, dads and even moms, that aren't really happy that they've had kids. Mm-hmm. Like, the problem of meaning doesn't seem to be solved by having a family. And therefore, I don't think that you can offload the issue onto promiscuity. It seems like the problem of meaning supersedes both of those things. And in fact, probably one could find meaning independent of which of those they did, depending on how they approached it. And perhaps in neither of those things, and only in going to a mountain and meditating separate from everyone. I don't know. But I really would love to talk to him about that as someone who was found himself feeling personally attacked.
Well, I actually think, and again, this isn't prescriptive at all because this is what society is like. But I think some of that emptiness is also because you're told that it's supposed to feel empty.
Sure.
Every movie you watch ends with a happy couple.
Yeah.
It ends with family. It ends with this, and then most people, you end up going that route. That's what's considered normal. It's what your family's saying to do. So now you're someone who's not doing that, like you and I. 80% of the people are doing it. And so again, this is the not eating meat.
You just feel left out.
No one is lauding you for not having a marriage. People are, oh my God, congratulations on having a baby. You're like me, you literally hate being around children, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, should I have a kid? Because everyone's acting excited when other people have kids, and I'm getting to be, I'm in my, I'm 31. Whereas I think if you just took all the same personalities, but magic to a society that lauded different things, you'd see people make different decisions. I think you'd see some people would still have families, but less would, because it wouldn't be considered empty or immature to not have a family. It would just be considered something else. So I think it's similar to the eating meat thing, where when the stream is trucking in terms of get married, have kids, get a job, stay in that job, get student debt, that stream is trucking. And so that's where most people go.
So the thing that I've noticed has made me, I've paid attention. I've been like, okay, which of these experiences feels empty, which doesn't? And the good news is, I think even recently, over the more recent years that I've been allowed to be more of a philanderer.
It all feels empty.
No, it's the ones that there's a lot that don't, quite frankly. And I look back and I go, what are the commonalities? And in fact, most don't, is the truth. I can think of a rare few that do, and the rare few that do, and versus the ones that don't, it's like there's an underlying honesty, quite frankly. And I wonder if that's not what gives something meaning, because I think even of the shorter, call it a one-night stand, call it a very short relationship, and a lot of these, I'll meet someone and it'll be physical for one night, but they might contact me in 3 months with a question about a business. It's like, when I care about them as a human, obviously that helps, and two, when there's an honesty and we have a conversation and they reveal a secret that they haven't told, and you feel like you can do that with them as well, that doesn't necessarily always take a lot of time to feel like you can have that. I guess it's intimacy is perhaps the thing that makes it feel meaningful, or not. Take away meaning. Honestly, I hate the word meaningful. I think this is the other question I have for Dr. Peterson is Eastern philosophy. The biggest insight they had is stop aiming at meaningful. Like, sit in a chair and just breathe, and it doesn't have to mean anything. It could just be what it is. It doesn't have to refer to something greater. You will die one day. Be present now. And the whole Western thing is like an escape from death by trying to find a transcendent meaning. This life has to be something more than it is because it's short and it's not going to last forever. And I feel like right now Eastern seems to have a better grasp of it, which is like, no, man, it's empty, and embrace that. And don't run from it. Don't hide it. So this is a different thing. But yeah, why does it have to be meaningful? Can't you just have an interaction that is and you're present for? And whether it's sexual in nature or business in nature or a conversation like this, can't you just be present and not have to worry about what it means? If I cared about this being meaningful, it would have to mean more subscribers, or we would have to be coming closer, and I couldn't just enjoy the conversation. Yeah. So anyway, I would love to talk to him. If you want to be the first guest on the podcast, you are invited to sit on that couch over there. I got good questions. I have them all written down.
Good. Oh yeah, do you?
Dude, I have great questions for him.
Preparing for Jordan
I have
Peterson?
great questions for him.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be fun too, because it's not it's not like you have an agenda, so it wouldn't be a debate.
No, I'm so curious. I'm so curious.
Conversation.
Yep. I would love his perspective. Especially, I've come to appreciate. I used to hate authority in older people. And this mirrors my relationships, I guess, with my dad.
Yep.
And I see the value in having lived 50, 60 years and tried some things, even if they're not the same things that I've tried, that you've got a perspective that is valuable. And I used to think that it made you just wrong. Like, the fact that you've been alive for 40 years is enough for me to just completely discount what you think, because you're dead wrong. And now I really I could see some serious value coming from my elders.
We'll make it happen.
We get that to go.
I have faith. Cool.
We done?
Good cast. Yeah, what time is it?
I think we're done.